Welcome to Classic Comics Cavalcade. We are trying a experiment with doing a video edition, and Amir's going to talk. And we're talking about Miracleman, the Artifact Edition, published by IDW. Just a beautiful, beautiful book. And Amir is going to share some of your favorite pages from the Artifact Edition.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Well, I mean, why don't we just maybe first talk about it a little bit about this book? I'm it's looking at the should we talk about it first? Talk
Yeah,
about Miracleman?
yeah.
Yeah.
We'll just keep this up because it's more interesting than
Yeah,
seeing our
yeah.
faces.
So from an eloquent, I mean, you're a more eloquent person, and it's your show. So do you want to start, Jason?
So, like with all artisan artist editions, this book is amazing, right? It's massive. It's got perfect reproduction of Miracleman art by John Totalban and Alan Davis and Gary Leach and so many of the other great artists who worked on Miracleman over the years. And it because it's so huge, it's almost an overwhelming experience to me, because you get really the full range of artists who created some of the great work here. The Veitch pages have a power to them, but then seeing especially these John Totalban pages up front, up close and giant, is, to me, like, just makes me appreciate even more like the amount of detail he puts into them and just the beauty of them, because they are just tremendous works of comic art.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Well,
Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
So, it includes the fights, the notorious issue where Miracleman and Kid Miracleman fight and they destroy all of London. And even there, like, you're seeing the level of craft and detail he puts into it. You can see the different ways that the Totalban will create colors and shading, and the design that goes into it. You can really just see the effort there on the page, and yet at the same time it looks so effortless. But then seeing that work in combination with some of the other stuff Totalban did for Miracleman, later on when we get to the happy ending of that storyline, and we see that really beautiful ornate work by him, which is so completely his work. I think it just makes me appreciate the work that everyone put into this comic so much more.
Yeah, so I think it's kind of interesting that for our experiment we chose Miracleman, because to me, Miracleman, of all the artist editions that I own, and I own a lot of them, and I think you own a lot too. Maybe I don't have the Bernie Wrightson one, but this is the most disturbing comic of all the other artist editions. So there isn't any other artist edition out there produced when you see like a mass. There are pages in here that are like very disturbing to look at.
Yeah.
I think this whole story of Miracleman, I guess we should say, like, on the books nowadays when they're published, they're called the author, but it's created by Alan Moore, and I think it's one of the first times where Alan Moore started to kind of like bring into quote unquote realism into superhero genre, meaning like real life moments, like atrocities. Like if there's violence, there's going to be people who get hurt. If somebody changes from a regular human being with an alter ego to like a superpowered being, there's going to be psychological ramifications. If a child becomes a superhero, what type of an ego they would have. So you think about Alan Moore and then him partnering up with some really great artists who, in my opinion, actually went on to become better artists later on after this book, especially when it comes to like, actually that's not true. I'm not going to say any names. I think they all, like, I think Alan Davis has done better work than here, although he was amazing here. John Totalbaum is magnificent here, but he's more well known for Swamp Thing with Alan Moore. But what was really interesting about looking at this artist edition, I think it's really funny that we chose this one, because there's like at least tens of dozens of other ones we could pick that's probably like more popular.
Yeah.
But this is super disturbing, and it really, some of the art is really disturbing. I did not include it in the thing that you're presenting right now on the screen because it's just super disturbing, like the violence and stuff. But it's still like, it's just more beautiful looking at it in black and white. And more I watch these artist editions, the more I realize they're totally worth buying. And the more I realize that comic form, unless like the coloring is like done by a master, it's better black and white. Might as well look at it black and white because, and I just love the art form. I just love the art, and yeah, it's just beautiful stuff here. But when I read it in a color format, I don't think of it as beautiful, and I feel like the color kind of ruins it, and you don't see the nuances and all the hard work that the artists have put into it.
Well, I think with the page I have up there, up on the screen, you can really see it. I mean, the first few issues of Miracleman, first, 2 dozen stories were produced in black and white, meant to be produced, seen in black and white. So you can see the tricks Alan Davis puts into his work with the clouds in the first panel. It just looks like thunder clouds roaring up above their heads. And there's so much power in this, that blurry field, right? And they wouldn't do the work like this today. This is clearly work that's like craftsmanship work that was done 40 years ago. Wow. And then like the scene with Kid Miracleman blowing up here, which is the end of the very first Miracleman story. You can see like the bolts of lightning with the different colors and the shading on them. His body kind of rendered almost in a film negative. The glow that comes from him, like you just wouldn't be able to capture that in the same way in color. And I have this real fetish. I love to see the word balloons kind of getting discolored from the rubber cement and start to peel off. And oh my God, that probably had something a little less probably didn't use God in it, like oh geez, or oh holy cow. I just think that's really just fun to see. I like your point too, like these images, an image like this one that was created in color looks great in color. I think it's actually really fun to see. But like when we get into this stuff, like I just don't think it works nearly as well in color as it does here in black and white.
I included the other colors. Was if you go back to those are covers, those two colors that I included. Of course, covers always look a lot better because they've spent a lot more time. They do watercolor and everything. And what I also included here is, I thought it was interesting. So there are a lot of artists, as you mentioned earlier. I don't know if I think you mentioned earlier who are some of the artists on here. Like there's some people who went on to become like literally superstars, like Alan Davis, Totalbaum, Rick Veitch, who's great underground artist, but he's also done a lot of writing and artwork for mainstream comics. But these two pages were done by Chuck Austin, and who's really more famous in the mainstream as an inker for John Byrne, right? Or some of the famous 80s artists. Is that correct?
I think you're merging a couple people together.
It's not Chuck Austin. It
You're
is.
thinking of Terry Austin, who inked John Byrne. But these two pages are a British artist.
It says Mick Austin.
Mick Austin. That's a British artist who did. So Miracleman started out in an anthology called Warrior. And these pages were Mick Austin's covers he painted for Warrior magazine.
Oh, my bad. Because his autographs looks a lot like Chuck Austin. So that's my bad.
Chuck Austin is Austen.
Ah, okay. Austen. Ah, my bad. Okay.
No, but regardless. Yeah, Mick Austin. He was a British artist who
okay.
was a painter, more painterly, like Joe Chiodo or someone.
Oh, got it. It's beautiful. Yeah. Okay.
I think this is a beautiful piece. You see the spray of the water. I think he just does that so gorgeously. Miracleman's almost in this halo of water. little bit of foreshadowing for who the character becomes. And just such an explosion of the beauty there. I don't know much about Mick Austin. I know he's a British painter. I know he did some work for 2000 AD. A lot of these people did, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know very much about him at all.
Oh, okay. So that's my bad because Chuck Austin actually did some Miracle Man art too.
Yeah, mostly considered to be the worst issues.
That's what I thought. I was like, he looks so good in this art. Okay, my bad.
No, like this is, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, that's so funny.
Well, if I'm sharing, I can. I'm not gonna. And next time we do, one of these. Oops! Look at me. I'm totally making it look awkward. Next time we do one of these, I should prep some of that type of stuff, or maybe I can slot it in there in video. Do that.
Awesome.
Figure out how to do that. So yeah, I wanted you to talk about what you thought of the John Totalben pages and hear how you felt like it looked in black and white.
Oh yeah, it's so disturbing and it's so beautiful at the same time. It's I don't know. I have to say like this is a long time ago, but before I was a quote unquote sophisticated comic book fan, I probably would have not enjoyed John Totalbaum. Because it was just disturbing. It's so dirty looking, and it's like, during the fights, they're not like eloquent.
Mm-hmm.
But just looking at it here, there's just so much work that, like, if you look at the black and white, there's just so much work that he put into it. And there's just so much emotion. And yeah, it doesn't look like, they don't look like models, or they don't look like models up there, like model as in like act, like beautiful people. Like they're beautiful, but they're like normal beauty. That's like I've seen a person that looks like that, but I know they're like a godly. So the disturbing nature of the art that really fits with the way um Alan Moore has written it is just incredible. And I've seen some of Tuttlebum's art for Swamp Thing, and it's the same type of thing. It's just so detailed and incredible. Yeah.
I just thinking about like the hand in panel one, how much detail he puts into just the hand there, all the muscles. He draws every knuckle,
Mm-hmm.
every tendon there in Miracle Man's hand. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's way more detail than he needs to include in there.
Mm-hmm.
The beautiful shading around the eyes just really makes you feel the dilemma of what he's going through. He's struggling, he's facing his darkness. And like the way he draws, yeah, it's so beautifully done, right? The way he
Mm-hmm.
draws the logo in the chest and it's at this angle. He's
Mm-hmm.
thought through like how this would look on his chest and then how it gets displayed on his body. I remember distinctly too, like loving this panel when I read it, and this amazing swoop of movement from Miracle Man's shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
You just feel the power of that. It just
Mm-hmm.
feels like you just feel like it's he's swinging his fist at 100 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm. And it's great cartooning too. It's not just great draftsmanship and design, but like just great like storytelling too.
Oh yeah, you're right. Because look how the page moves you through it, right? You got the keys, and then Miracle Man in panel one, and then panel two just continues right from panel one. The arm of Kid Miracle Man, I think it is, just pulls you right from the head into the body. And then
Mm-hmm.
the swoop down in panel three with the legs kind of falling back down from the punching body. Like your eye just totally flows through that page.
Mm-hmm.
This beautiful arc. And it's so dynamic too with all the diagonals. I mean, look at all the diagonals on this page. which just accentuate the energy of the moments. Even the two characters in
Mhm.
the background in panel 2 are positioned diagonal to each other.
Mhm. Mhm.
The legs, it's like such a dynamic scene. He's really
Yeah.
using his skills to make it that way, but it's also rendered so beautifully. The more I look at it, the more I admire the work here.
Mhm. Mhm.
Oops.
Yeah. That's it, I think. I don't have anything
And even
else.
the quieter page like this one, like it's just powerful. Total Ben also likes to play with the panel borders.
Mhm.
Did that strike you when you were reading the book too? How much of the
You
book
know,
is
I have
him?
to read it. I haven't read it again. I haven't read it actually fully. I've only like skimmed through it. I have the omnibus, so I'm gonna make. Perhaps we can read it and just talk about the whole thing.
Yeah, I would like that. This issue has that, or this collection has that infamous 2-page spread. And that's what you were talking about earlier with all the mutilated bodies and the torture and the
Yeah,
destruction of London. It is so hard to look at.
I did not include that. Yeah, for that very reason.
And apparently it was a bunch of different images they put together is what it looked like.
Hmm. You mean like he drew it separately?
Yeah, that's what he drew different images separately and they merged them together.
Hmm. That's what it kind of looked like.
And so I think it just makes it even scarier.
Hmm.
One thing I was thinking about too as I was reading through this artist edition, you only have a little bit of Alan Davis in here, but the contrast between Alan Davis's kind of realistic style and Total Ben's like exaggerated style,
Hmm.
painterly style, it's really striking. Right, the book
Yeah.
starts out with Mike Moran and his wife in bed together, happy married couple, and they are just happy, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
By the end, Miracle Man has become a god. They've had Winter, their baby, who's like this alien creature. Towards the very, very end, we had the panel of Miracle Man and Winter. Miracle Man 16, page 23, almost at the back of the collection. And he's now with Miracle Woman, who's someone who's truly at his level. The baby is this wise creature, still a toddler, but she speaks in with perfect language and flies, and they have alien creatures as pets. And like the contrast from where this book starts to where it finishes is amazing. We could talk about that more when we talk about the omnibus.
Hmm. Hmm. I also wanted to mention the art of Gary Leach, which
Hmm.
in in the artist edition format, that's like it's almost like looking at Brian Boland type style art, which is like totally like crisp and there isn't like any dirtiness into it. And I feel like that's a testament to Alan Moore to like writing to people's strengths,
Hmm.
or like the different types. Like Gary Leach part is the science fiction where they meet the other aliens. So it's like a little bit more crisper, and then Total Bem is like total mayhem, just violence, and of course, he had to deal with who he had to work with, but like Alan Davis is day-to-day life, but a little bit of like the beginning, the origins of the superhero. So, and that again, like the coloring just does not do it justice.
Hmm. Oh, I was wrong. That this page is Gary Leach, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
not
so
Alan
when he's
Davis.
like with his wife, it's like just crisp and beautiful. Like I
Yeah.
guess I didn't include that either because she's like undressed. I don't know how it's gonna look like on YouTube. I don't want him to ban us.
Especially since we're just starting to get off the ground.
Yeah, yeah, cool. But that was
Yeah,
great.
let's do
I'm
more
glad.
about this next time. Get deeper
Yeah, yeah,
into it.
yeah, yeah. This
And
is great.
I'll prep some additional work so we can share it and turn it into something.
Awesome.
Thanks for doing this.
Thanks, Jason.
Thanks to anybody who watched it. We'd love to hear your comments too. Share some notes with us because we are learning, trying to get better.